What is going on, everybody? Welcome to our first ever episode. I don't even know what we're called yet, but our first best bets of the day with whole new stuff coming on. Austin, it's great to have you. Great to see you. No NBA really going on, but how have you been?
I've been great, man. This 3 days off with the All-Star break has been great. Regroup. I'm fired up, focused, ready to absolutely tackle the rest of this season. Try to make some money before playoff time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've definitely been crushing it. I think it's good that we got the trade deadline stuff out of the way, All-Star break stuff out of the way. Teams can kind of really focus, and you can kind of you know what every team is basically now going forward. So that's good. I did say this is our first episode of our best bets. We don't have a name, so if someone can help us think of a name or think of something to keep track, really appreciate it. Maybe in the comments, show us some love. But you will be seeing a lot more of Austin's face on here. We're gonna have these twice a week for basketball season and hockey season. We're going to finish this out, but also for baseball season, this is going to be our bread and butter. We're going to
Yeah,
talk
it's
through a
gonna be
bunch of
great.
good stuff during baseball season. Maybe we'll have some bets on the same game, some shared plays, and things like that. A lot of ideas cooking, so we'll have some good content out for you guys. But this episode, especially, is an NBA futures episode. Post trade deadline, like we said. Austin, do you have any big futures or a team you really think is going to win it all? I know we talked a little bit beforehand, but let us know what you're thinking and what team you're on.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is gonna be a really fun push. You and I were talking before the show for the West. This is probably the first time in a while where it's wide open. Honestly, like you could argue 5 or 6 different teams, and rightfully so. The East, it's also open. There's a few more favorites that I like more, but yeah, looking at the West, I think right now my favorite team is the Clippers. I think what they did in the trade deadline was great. They went and got Gordon, Bones Highland, Plumlee, an underrated trade as well. Like that team is probably 11 guys deep. They're not going to play 11 in the playoffs, but Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, like Marcus Morris, Zubats, like they have all these role players that they can pair up with PG and Kawhi on top of the 3 additions they got at the deadline. Like Nick Batum's still there, like Robert Covington, like they're deep, man. So that's my favorite team right now coming out of the West.
Yeah, I I think we talked about this earlier, and you can get the Clippers at the West at plus 500. We did talk about them winning, obviously, as well at plus 1200. That's a different story, though, with the East coming up that we talked about, those few solid teams over there. I think, I'm right there with you, especially with the news of them getting Russell Westbrook. It'd be interesting to see how they use him, whether they have him lead that second unit. In my opinion, I think they should have him with maybe a Bones Highland or, Eric Gordon, or maybe someone else with him, and just have Mason Plumlee kind of be that rim protector. He's trying to be whatever, just stand there. And then have Russell Westbrook just, run the offense with 2 shooters in the wings. And for that, with your second unit, it's going to be tough to defend, especially with those second unit guys that the other team's going to have. So I think that they can utilize that. And as far as the Suns go, I think all the comments we're going to get is Suns, KD. They look great and all, and they definitely can win. But like, I've never been a believer that a team can win the first time that they band together, let alone when they band together halfway through the season. So it should be tough. Their chemistry might be a little off, but KD is also KD. So it is what it is. But I do think the Clippers are the best odds. Everything else is kind of chalked. Out of the East, I think we all know it. Celtics, Bucks are the favorites, with like the Sixers and Cavs being like a second tier, if you want to call it. Who's your favorite to come out of the East and why? Or is there another team you like out of the East?
I was looking at the East. I think the Nets, we're going to see them drop a little bit. I like the Knicks as a fun team, but I don't think they're going to win a 7-game series and like make a run. I just don't think like they have the team to do it right now. Heat, I don't really trust. Atlanta, I think we all know, is like the Minnesota Vikings for this year. They're fraudulent. They're just not very good. I think Celtics Bucks are probably your 2 front runners. I personally lean Bucks. I love the playoff experience. I think Bobby Portis getting healthy is going to be a huge addition off the bench. I think Giannis, you can match up on anyone, any big, and be fine. Brook Lopez, underrated big, and then like we said earlier, Drew Holiday is just a monster in his own. So, and that's not even mentioning Chris Middleton's been coming off the bench this season, so we haven't seen him get hot. If he does, the sky's the limit for this team. I could see them making a run.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, we know what the good teams are, and everyone else is kind of like gonna have to run through that gauntlet. Like we talked about it before, the it's not like March Madness or the NFL where you can just get hot one game and kind of steal the show in advance. You got to beat a team 4 out of 7 games, and that is just so hard to do. Where it's almost impossible for these teams to make these sort of runs. And I think that's going to be insanely tough for anyone else, especially when they have to go through, like, let's just say they have to go through the Celtics or Bucks, and they have to go through the Sixers or Cavs or whoever it is. Like, there's so many just tough teams you have to beat 4 times out of 7 games that I think it's safe to say it's going to be one of those 4 teams, most likely the Celtics or the Bucks. If you had to make an NBA Finals prediction of who it's going to be faced off against, what would you choose?
In the East or just the finals in
Yeah,
general?
West versus East. Who's going to meet in the finals?
Yeah, I was dallying between Bucks Celtics. I think the Celtics are interesting. Just because like Tatum has shown where he can have a game where he struggles and they can still win. I don't think that's the case for Milwaukee. If Giannis doesn't play well, they're losing. Um, but with that said, I think I go Bucks Clippers is probably who right now I would have in the finals. I think that's my two. I think if the Clippers get solid at Kawhi and PG, they got to get those guys consistent. I think they could make a run. I really do.
Yeah. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket for the Clippers, even though I do think that they do end up winning as like the value bet. I'm gonna say it's the Nuggets versus the Bucks. I do think the Bucks, last year, if you followed me on Twitter, I was obsessed with this Bucks team. They basically went to 7 games. They did go to 7 games against the Celtics and were very close neck and neck without Chris Middleton. So even if he plays like average, I think this is a tough series for them. It just gives you have to play Giannis a lot more honestly, and that's just a tough task for anybody. I do think the Nuggets. The one thing that I don't like about the Nuggets is that they don't really have like a go-to guy. Like Jokic is the guy for like the full game, but there's no guy I could trust. Jamal Murray has had its spurts, but until I see it on like a big run, like I don't know if I'm going to believe it. So they can, if he can step up, or maybe like I don't even know, Aaron Gordon or somebody can kind of step up, then I'll believe it. But this would be an intriguing matchup with Giannis versus Jokic, like kind of like the MVP argument stuff that we always see. So that's what I want to see. I think that's what I'm going to go. Those are our predictions. I think you understand where we're going with the Clippers. I know we're going to get a lot of hate from this from everyone because they hate Russell Westbrook and all that
Definitely.
stuff. But let's go through a contender versus pretender. And you tell me, I'm going to say a team's name, and you're going to tell me whether you think they're a contender or pretender. So I'm going to pull up the standings for you real quick. We'll go through the East first. I'm going to skip past the Celtics Bucks. We know that they're contenders. So just rapid fire real quick. 76ers.
I think they're there. I mean, they're definitely a good team. I worry a little bit outside of Joel Embiid if Harden's going to be there. Harden's got to get you your 20 and 10. Like he can't just be a facilitator like he does in some games. You know what I mean? He's got to be there. You need Tobias Harris to be able to guard the best player on, like the best wing on whatever opponent they're playing. Melton and Maxey both are good guards that if they play well, I mean, that team could get hot. I definitely like it. Joel Embiid, you're going to get your 30 and 10 from. So, yeah, I would say they're contenders.
Okay. I obviously agree with you. I think they're going to be a tough out for anyone if Embiid can be healthy. Going on to the next one, the Cavaliers.
Sneaky contenders, I'll give it to them. I think they match up well with pretty much everyone. I mean, there's not many teams that have two dominant bigs like they do that both can play together at the same time. And you have two combo guards that both can get you buckets, both can create shots. I mean, Donovan Mitchell can get you 35 in a playoff game. You know what I mean? So I like him and Garland. And I think their bench is starting to get better as well. I mean, they let Kevin Love go, but he wasn't really a guy they wanted to rely on. So
Yeah.
I would give them contenders.
I think I have to agree with you there. I think they're my last contender to the East, honestly, but you may have some different thoughts. The New York Knicks.
Cool team, cool story, but I would say pretender. They're just not there yet. I don't trust Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle to go beat up on a Celtics or Bucks team or even the Sixers, honestly. So I would say
Right.
pretender right now. They need
I
another piece.
agree. And the Miami Heat, they're pretenders as well, I'm assuming.
Pretenders. Yeah, they're just throwing a bunch of different role players out there and trying to stick. I think Jimmy Butler is getting close to being where he's not a number one star anymore. You know what I mean? Like their teams through Bam, but they don't give him enough love. So I would definitely say Pretender there.
Yeah, I think he's too focused on his coffee brand than he is playing basketball right now, for being honest.
Probably
Uh,
so.
I think that's it for the East. The West is a better story. This is the better contender versus pretender segment. We'll go through. I'll start with the Grizzlies.
There's so many unknowns in the West, honestly, and people are going to get mad at whatever you say. And I think the Grizzlies are there. However, I don't see them winning at all. Like, they have a cool team, but I think their arrogance is starting to catch up with them a little bit especially when you got Josh saying like he's not worried about anyone in the West. I definitely think he should be, but I'll say contender. They'll be in the final 8. I would say they're going to be at least pushing for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say pretender for me. I think they talk too much trash, which is cool to watch. But like you're 11-17 on the road, like you can't win on the road. You're not winning the playoffs. Ja, prove me wrong, buddy. But until I see it, I'm not gonna believe it. That's just it for me.
Totally agree. Yeah, they're dominant at home, but outside of that, they're not very good. So yeah, we'll
let's
see. I agree.
let's see the Kings light the beam.
Like the team, I like what they're doing, but they're a year away at least. They're pretenders. They're not. They're not making a run. I don't think. I think especially outside of their depth, like if Sabonis foul trouble, who do they got? You know, like they just aren't there. And De'Aaron Fox is cool. Kevin Herter's shooting well, but Keegan Murray needs to take a step. They just need a little bit more. I think. I think they're pretenders.
Yeah, I hate to see it. I want them to be good so bad. Like I love when the Kings are good. I don't know why. It really means nothing to me. I'm on the East Coast, but like I love when they're good. I don't know why. Um, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Pretenders. Yeah, definitely
Easy.
pretenders. Yeah, that one. I mean, that one I'm not even second guessing. Honestly, that's a pretender.
um, Pelicans.
Interesting team. Well, I'd like to hear your opinion on this one first.
Pelicans to me, another team that's 20-10 at home, 10-19 on the road. Like if they get Zion back, they're a tough out. They have a lot of scoring options. And I like their team overall. I really do. But like they just got a bunch of guys that I've never seen do it. And that's just to me, it's tough to do in the NBA. The West is definitely easier, but like you can't get chemistry going when guys are always hurt, especially your biggest guys. So they're pretenders for me, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's kind of been an unfortunate season for them. Like Brandon Ingram missed a shit ton of time once Zion and CJ were both healthy, which sucked because you couldn't get the guys to play together. And then right when Ingram gets back from his toe injury, Zion goes down. So you just never really got that chemistry from them. And I think on paper, yeah, they're all supposed to be back, but who knows if they stay healthy. And like you said, we just haven't seen them. I do like that they have 2 guys like that can go get you buckets from deep. Zion can get you 25, 30 in the paint. Like on paper, they got good wing defenders with Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall. Like they got some guys. They're definitely an interesting roster. So I would say pretender this year, although they do have the talent to be a contender, I would say, if they didn't have this injury concern.
Yeah, and I think that's like we knew that was going to happen with Zion. Like we knew he's just got to be. It's so tough for a guy who's built like that and plays like that to stay healthy. So
Right.
they may be doing this for a while. They may have to get some more pieces, but he's so much fun to watch. One more team in the West, and we'll call it a day. We will say the Dallas Mavericks.
This one, I was back and forth on. This one's tough. I mean, obviously you have Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the world. You have Kyrie, one of the best players in the world. Like you have 2 absolute 30 balls. You know what I mean? Like they're walking
Yeah.
30 pieces. Like so, I think that's cool. But what scares me is the depth. I loved the trade, even though they had to give up depth to get it, because I don't think they were good enough to win it all without Kyrie. So you give yourself a better chance. I I'm honestly a little undecided on this one. I would lean contender, honestly, in the West. I don't think they could win it all, but I think in the West they have a chance. I think they're a dark horse team that could make a run. I'm not ready to count those 2 guys out.
Yeah. To me, it's like if they were playing March Madness, this would be they'd be fired because the guard play is just unbelievable. But I don't know. It's so hard. Like Kyrie's so good with the ball, and so is Luca. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, that's just so hard for me. Like, I'm always a big fan of teams that have guys like the one guy who brings the ball up and everyone else can play off the ball. Like Chris Middleton plays well off the ball. Giannis can bring the ball up, or
Right.
you have your things where like LeBron brings the ball up. Like, you can't have two guys that are so good on the ball. Like that's where they do everything. Kyrie creates his own shot. Luca creates his own shot. Like Kyrie, unless someone takes a step back, which is going to have to be Kyrie, and like
Right.
just be kind of like a wing shooter. Like I don't see how they're going to survive, but it should be fun to watch. Like they could sneak out some wins, but I don't think they can win a series. That's like
Well, they have some sneaky guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. could play off ball and he can knock down some shots. You know what I mean? I think their biggest
yeah,
thing is the interior, but they've done well against centers this season on paper at least. But Dwight Powell, Christian Wood, like those are some guys that I don't really love in the playoff race. Like, do you want them guarding Jokic? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I
I
agree.
like Christian Wood. I really do. Like they have some guys, but they don't have like another guy. Like it's just hard to see for me, and
They
especially with
don't
how
have
talented
perimeter.
these teams are. Like the gaps between the best teams and the worst teams are so like they're so big because you have teams with 3, 4 guys. Like they really don't have 2.5 guys realistically.
Yeah, but like if you look at the West, like who are the teams in the West that are like going to be the final? Like we both think the Clippers are there,
The
right?
Clippers and Suns both have 3+ guys.
Right. And they have like the Clippers have a lot more depth than the Suns, but like they have more of a full squad. But like after those two teams, you kind of have your Grizzlies, your Mavericks, your Pelicans, your
Yeah,
Warriors, which we didn't even mention.
I think that's where the Mavericks belong in that pool. So I guess they're pretenders. I guess we just said that they're pretenders in my mind.
Yeah, I guess they're going to be interesting. It's going to be a great playoff race, I think.
Is there any team you think that can pull out a W that's really not in the picture right now? Is there anyone like has a snowball's chance to come out and win if you had to pick a team? Don't say the
Like
Trailblazers.
like in the West and the East.
Yeah,
Like
out of any team that can kind of surprise people. Like, do you think the Knicks can figure it out? You think I don't know, the Lakers come back and make the playoffs? You think the
no, that Lakers team I think's done. Honestly, I watched them in Portland a couple nights ago, and they're just cooked. Like they seem to have zero chemistry, so I'm not really worried about them. I think the Warriors is the easy answer. Like nobody's really talking about them, but like you have to give them your respect. You know what I mean? You know
yeah,
nobody wants to draw them. You know, like you don't want to play the Warriors first
that's
round.
a good point. And I think that was the deal last year. Like the same time, like the last year they were like, oh no, they're not gonna do it. And then they just caught fire right before the playoffs started, and that team when they catch fire is deadly.
Yeah, like they could be the 8th seed and you could be a comfortable Nuggets team at the 1 seed and you still don't want to play them. Like you're like, damn, we would have rather anyone else, you
Yeah,
know? So I think that's a team. In the East, I don't really see any teams like I think the Hawks are terrible. I think the Heat are just not very good. I guess you could say the Knicks because they'll probably be like around the 5 seed, so they might be able to upset like a Cavs team or a Sixers team, maybe.
yeah,
I mean, like I'm not huge on the Raptors. I'm not huge on the Bulls. I think the Wizards are honestly better than people give them credit for, but
it's fair.
I don't really see them because they'll be kind of hanging around the 7 or 8 seed if they do make it. And obviously you draw the Bucks or the Celtics, which you don't like. I don't see them beating them. So I think it's maybe you could say the Knicks.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun if the Knicks did well too. But
It'd be a good
I guess
story.
we'll see. I guess we'll see. We'll definitely revisit this when the playoff seeds are finalized and the playoffs are about to start. But for now, that is our favorite futures bet. Let me run through this real quick. We have the Clippers plus 1,200 on FanDuel to win the NBA Finals, plus 500, probably a safer bet to win the Western Conference, so that they don't have to face the Celtics or Bucks to get there. That's Austin's NBA Finals prediction. That's my NBA Finals prediction, just because I don't want to put all my eggs in the Clippers basket. If you want to listen to our contender versus pretenders, if your team's on there and they're pretenders, I do apologize in advance. We will have more official plays on here as when we actually have slates to go through. But as of now, this has been our first episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Share whether you think you like our pretenders or contenders in the comments, and let us know what you think our show name should be. Anything else you have to say, Austin, just to kiss of death?
That's all I got.
Just a kiss of death. That has been it. We'll see you guys next time. And if you guys have any sort of content ideas for us to do, please just give us a shout. And we'll catch you next time on this episode of the No Name Show. Peace out, guys.